everybody. Hello. How's everybody doing this afternoon?
Good.
Well, before we get started, before I officially open this board meeting, I would like to welcome the staff. I see parents out there, I see students to our board meeting. It's always good to have people in the audience to start off our meetings and begin on a positive note. So welcome, we're glad you're here, and I will now get started. It is now 6:00 p.m. I call this meeting of the LaFayette Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members are present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of the community. Fill us with your grace, Lord, as we make decisions that might affect the students, staff, faculty, alumni, and community of Lafayette Independent School District. Continue to remind us that all we do here today, all we accomplish is for the pursuit of the truth of the greater glory of you and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of November 13th of 2023 and November 30th, 2023? Motion. I have a motion by Mrs. Martinez.
I second.
I have a second by Mrs. Johnson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. And now for recognition of our personnel.
Good evening, Board President, board members, Superintendent Ms. Torres. Tonight we do want to recognize two of our staff members. Ms. Ada Martinez, she is retiring in December after 32 years of service. And she's not able to be here with us tonight. But also we have Ms. Gloria Hernandez. She will be also retiring in December with 23 years of experience, service here in Lafayette. So you want to step up?
We would like to take a picture with you if you'll come up and.
Come on up, ma'am.
Mrs. Castillo has something to share with you.
Speech.
I was with you. I really hurt me.
I hired you something. I'm not sure who it is.
2005, 2006.
A wonderful math teacher. Oh, this is for you, by the way. This is for you, by the way, is a wonderful math teacher and a great art teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now we'll take a group picture and Priscilla, can you join us?
How are we gonna do this?
Do you want to stand right down there, ma'am? And maybe Mrs. Castillo, you stand with her? With your hand on the bottom, right here. Will you stand down here? And on this side, Ms. Thomas, and then we'll stand in the back. You can stand on this side, though.
Okay, so let's go, there we go.
There we go.
1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
I put him on the spot.
You are you again.
In the middle, right?
And then we're gonna take
I don't know
it.
what this is.
We'll just have that.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Congratulations, ma'am.
Good
which one of you are speaking? Mr. Ashcroft, please, Garrett, I know as well.
We'd like to recognize today, Hacia Trejo over here.
Will you come up, sir? As we talk about you, you have to stand here. Right up here, sir.
Haciel did a very, very, very rare accomplishment. We compete, the band competes individually in a program called ETSSB, Association of Texas Small School Bands. That's a mouthful there. In total, there are 891 schools that are in ETSSB. Those are 4A all the way to 1A. He competed in the jazz section of it. There's 20 regions in the entire state. Each region has their own auditions, and the first chair of each section submits a recording. And from there, they send the recordings to different regions. It alternates through the state, and they judge it a few weeks later. In total, there was 20 baritone saxophones, and Haciel placed first. He's only the second one ever to make the all-state jazz band from the federal.
Wow, congratulations.
And we have, want to say anything?
Yes, he put in countless of hours, him working along with Mr. Hinojosa. He's very dedicated and he's self-motivated, and I mean, he did awesome. Congratulations.
I'm his saxophone teacher, so I just want to say something. I'm very proud of him. He's done a lot of the work by himself, but with my guidance, and I helped him out a lot. But he a lot of it was on his own. He likes to be very musical, and he did a terrific job. So I'm very proud of him, and he wants to major in music, right?
And now we talk about it.
I'll keep it in the back.
I guess that's not me.
No, you're good. I'll find a window right here.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
And stay where you are, we're asking his family to join us.
Oh, yes.
And I'll scoot back if you want to move up so his.
I'm just kidding.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for coming. I taught his mother.
You did?
We will now continue. We do have someone that has signed up for public comment. And let me read the guidelines. The next item on the agenda is open forum or public comment. Before we begin, I will remind our audience members of the board's procedures for handling public comment. The public comment portion of our meeting is available to members of the public who wish to address an agenda item to be considered by the board on tonight's agenda or other topic. Anyone who wants to speak during public comment must sign in prior to the start of the meeting and list agenda items or topic they want to discuss. Each public comment speaker will be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes to address the board. However, any public testimony speaker who requires a translator will receive up to 5 minutes to address the board. The public comment portion of the meeting will allow all speakers who have signed up before the start of the meeting to address the board regarding an item on tonight's agenda or other topic. Please keep your comments or criticism civil and courteous. Please also avoid using profanity and refrain from making personal attacks on others during your opportunity to speak. Last, we ask that you do not discuss students who are not your own child. If a speaker is seeking board resolution of a specific complaint, that concern should be addressed through the district's grievance process. District policy BGBA has been established for addressing complaints. Policy FNG is the avenue for filing parent complaints, and policy GF addresses committee member complaints. Grievance forms can be obtained at any campus administration office or in the central administration offices. Thank you. Our first speaker is Ms. Stephanie Bauer. Ms. Bauer.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I hope everyone's having a great evening. So I'm here to talk about, I do not remember the agenda item, it's Senate Bill 629. So I just want to preface this by letting you guys know exactly what I do when I'm not being a parent or when I'm not putting my opinion into a lot of different places. I am a public health policy analyzer. So what do I do? Well, I look at policies and what they could potentially do for health-related problems. So this particular policy is an opiate antagonist requirement that is going to be or can be held at schools. If you are not familiar with the opiate epidemic that our nation is currently facing, it is making its way to a lot of border towns. That's why House Representative Wilson and Senate Representative Jose Menendez are writing a lot of bills that are going to help prevent fatalities from happening. We're seeing way too many students take what they think is a Xanax at school and it being laced with fentanyl. We're seeing a lot of policies that are being written for health purposes. Now, I think it's a great policy. There's a lot of fine print that goes into it, and I just want the board and the school to know that these are very serious outlines of how to train staff. With a lot of conversations that I've had with faculty and staff members, and a lot of the things that I've seen, we are not following a lot of policies. All right, when it comes to particularly student health outcomes, faculty and staff health outcomes. I don't want this to be another policy that we are checking the box. This is for our students' safety, and it's a preventative care that I hope we never, ever have to come in contact with. This is something that I would not want anyone's child to get tangled up with. But we have to be realistic. We are not teaching the health behaviors in the classroom. We're not. Health is not a requirement. So now we need to create policies for when something does happen and not to prevent things from happening. So when you are considering adopting this policy, please be very careful on who is going to be included, collect a needs assessment. What is going to be the most successful way that this is going to be implemented? It's not just the adoption, it's the implementation, and it is the maintenance of it. So if you have any questions or concerns, I am willing to take any at the moment. If not, thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
The first information item is the district mental health team update.
Good evening, members of the board, board president, Mrs. Torres. Obviously, I'm Rachel Leto, special ed director. I also have Mr. Eddie Garza, our LSSP with our special education department. And what we're gonna do today is just give you a really quick update on what we're working on as a district. A mental health team, mini update. So we know that as, you know, a lot of things are going on within our community, our nation, our students, our families, we know that there's a need in mental health. And we know that a lot of the resources our students and families and communities, you know, get these resources come from a school setting. So, we know that there is this need, so what we're working on is, a school mental health team to maximize and, you know, implement all of the resources that we use, you know, that to address not only our students, but our faculty, our parents, our community. So we've teamed up together with, you know, several administrators throughout the district to collaboratively work on this mental health team. And what we're doing is, you know, combining all of our resources, creating systems, processes that are standardized. That way we are not working in isolation as we're servicing our population. Mr. Heriberto Garza, you know, comes from another district, so he brings with him some experience, and, you know, I asked him to join me, that way he can kind of join in and give you a little bit more information than I can on our mental health team. So if you want to.
Yeah, you pretty much said it pretty well. So the purpose of it is to systematically kind of get the resources that we already have in district without having to look out and bridge that gap closer to our faculty and our students and to the community. So we're starting off small, and what we want to do is, you know we have professionals in the school district already that provide mental health services. We just want to set up systems that are in place so that people and students and teachers know how to access those resources.
So we did establish some of our objectives. We know that we want to establish the mental health roles within our district, and this ranges from different personnel. We want to standardize the system for, you know, anybody to refer students that are maybe experiencing any of these difficulties. And of course, we want to improve the processes that we have in place regarding crises and just systems and resources as a whole. You can go to the next one. Right now, this is where we at. We determined that we do have this need within the district, within our community. So what we've done is, you know, we devised a diverse district team, and this team encompasses different administrators. What we also talked about, and Mr. Garza kind of, you know, pushed a lot, is that this has to be a team effort of people that are interested and willing to do this. This is not a voluntold. This is something that we're all very committed to meeting and developing as this year progresses and moving forward. And the reason why we do need this commitment, it has to come from people that are willingly and interested in doing this, because we do meet, our meeting twice a month, beginning of the month, end of the month. So this is something that we're just ongoing throughout the year, and it's not going to stop. So we needed people that are truly invested, and this is one of the key things that Mr. Garza said, we really need people that are truly invested. So we have diverse this team. That doesn't mean that we're not going to reach out to others, but as we go and developing this, we'll you know, include other personnel. We shared our long-term vision, which is, you know, of course, as establishing our resources, our roles, responsibilities, and these systems. We've also established some short-term goals. You know, what we're also doing throughout this whole process is reviewing our current district resources. We're not gonna stop what we're doing. We're gonna continue and provide services wherever they are needed. As they come in, we're adding these resources, you know, to our buckets. But we do want to establish these resources collaboratively, systematically, so that everybody knows what to do in this situation.
I just want to emphasize that we are systematically segmenting this, because we do want to be able to have goals that we can measure that are achievable, and at the same time we can be flexible and mold as the changes happen. So we are focused on a big giant goal, but we're also focusing on smaller little benchmarks that we have. For example, the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is reviewing the team members. So by setting up those small benchmarks, we're able to kind of, you know, mold and change as we go.
So where we're going towards, our next phase is our roles and responsibilities of our district personnel, and this is gonna range, and this will take us some time, because we are looking at everybody. We're looking at our, you know, our LSSPs, our social worker, our guidance counselors, if we have an LPC within the district, our teachers, our students, our parents, our communities, and of course, and our administrators. I think everybody has a role and a responsibility within the district, so we're trying to define those. You know, that way everybody understands, you know, what is expected of them should they arise to any of these situations. The other thing that we're also moving towards is, you know, standardizing these common practices. You know, like I mentioned earlier, That's not that we're not doing things, it's just we're doing them isolated, and we want to be able to understand where to go if they need something else. Of course, once we get through all of this, the next phases will be to train all of our staff, all of our personnel, all those roles and responsibilities and what is expected of them. Ongoing coaching, as this doesn't stop. And then, of course, just creating these support school teams. So that's where we're at, and we understand that this is not gonna be something that happens tomorrow, but it's a process. And if you just go to the last one, this is what our long-term goal is establishing everybody's roles, everybody's responsibilities, and everybody has something to do, but in the end, we are all collectively working towards the same goal. So, we just wanted to give you a little update on this, initiative that we're moving towards, and, if you had any questions or anything, regarding this. You wanna add anything else, or?
Good job, because this is so important. Thank you.
I have a question. You mentioned you come from another school.
District, yes, I worked at different districts.
Oh, you work with different districts.
I've worked before prior.
Yes, he's had some experience in other areas.
What districts?
I worked for Dallas ISD, Arlington ISD, and Edinburgh ISD.
But you in the valley?
Edinburgh ISD.
Edinburgh. Okay. Now, I know, and I know that I voiced this, I guess concern you could call it to our superintendent. I look at this and I see all school-based practitioners, school counselors, school psychologists, and social workers, and school counselors, and, on and on and on. The only place that I find, unless I'm truly missing it, where parents are involved is parent education. How do you plan to evaluate how much the parent knows about mental wellness? How do you plan to, if you plan to that side?
Okay, so as we talked about, we have every single member divided between what their role is in our team. So the parents are a big role in our team. We already provide ongoing trainings to parents, but like Rachel said, we can do it better and we could do it more systematically.
Oh, so we have classes already for parents?
We have more focused classes for parents. For example, I do work for special education, so of course that's gonna be my focus. So parents do have me as a resource, so we do parent trainings as a focus. So we've seen the potential of what we can do in a small, level, and by creating this mental health team, we believe that we can do that on a greater scale
So
for
right
all
now,
students.
you're doing it for special education, but for the general, student population, you're also doing that,
That's
those
where our goal is
classes already for the general population?
Not yet, but that's where our goal is.
Oh, not yet.
Yes.
Okay.
I know that there are other, I think parental does different things. We've done different sessions with parental involvement regarding, I think even Dr. also came out at one time.
And again, we feel like we don't have a system. We feel like when we see a need, then we provide some support. But we need to be more we need to be more proactive than reactive. So that's why we all sat together and we said, we've got to establish roles and responsibilities. So maybe we'll, when we finish with this process, we will say, these people are going to be doing the proactive, these people will do reactive. When a teacher sees a need, how do I know as a teacher whether to send them to the administrator, whether to send them to the counselor, or call in an LSSP? We don't have that yet. So right now, we have different things that we're doing, but we don't have the system that we need in order to do what you're saying. We do have trainings, but it's not a systemic process that we need.
I guess my urgency is, for parents to recognize those behaviors at home also. Because you hear a lot, well, I really didn't think that was serious. He or she did X, Y, and Z, but I really didn't think it was, I thought the massage plan, and this and that. And so that is my urgency in that area, that the parents begin to understand at what point do I reach out to my counselor, to my social worker, to all these resources we have in the city? At what point does the parent become proactive instead of saying, no, the massage now? And so that big issue happens when the parent is like, oh my God, I didn't realize it would come to this. I always reference, what happened in Uvalde. That young man, the parents missed it, the school missed it, the church, everybody missed it. He kept sending red flags, I feel this, I feel that, but somehow it was missed. And that's kind of my urgency, that we, work with the community, work with the parents, and let them know, red flags. How can you catch it? You can have the most well-behaved child, but, at home, it's an entirely different, scenario. So I think this is really good that you're setting systems and what have you. I see student advocacy, I see, where a student can feel comfortable going and telling someone, this is what I feel, or this is what I saw my friend doing. I don't think that's right. It falls in the preventive approach. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just want to commend you on your plan. It's very comprehensive, and it seems like it's well-rounded. And I know you mentioned earlier it's going to take time, and hopefully, baby steps, we will get there,
Right.
so that we are addressing the needs of our students, not only special ed, but everyone
Exactly.
involved.
Yes.
But thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to comment real quick. Yeah, I love this because, the one thing, and I always relate to work, is whenever we get calls at work, everyone just says nurse's station. And what they really mean is, oh, I need the case manager, or I need staffing, or I need administration. But it always comes to me, and I'm the one, or I need therapy. And so I'm the one having to transfer the calls. And there's nothing more, annoying, I guess.
Frustrating.
When you're being transferred to
Yes. Oh,
different
definitely.
departments. So I think, this is gonna be, great once we get it, going, because it's gonna go directly to who it needs to go to. So, thank you. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
that's why when you said, everybody will know their role, that's perfect.
Now we could get the parent to know who they're gonna ask for.
Exactly, and that's our long-term goal, is to make sure that all of this, once it is established, that it is out there and really available to our community. We talked about putting it up on parent portals or where it's easy accessible. But of course, all that's gonna take time because we have to fine tune everything and make sure that we're hitting,
Foundation.
yeah.
Well, you already have on here parent education, so.
And we've been meeting already, it's just, it is amazing 2 to 3 hours how fast that goes as we're meeting, and then we set certain criteria of things we're gonna get done the next time, and then when we meet and I commend you because you are leading this group, I'm not the leader, Ms. Linville's not the leader, he is definitely the leader because he is the expert, and so he guides us and, lets us know where we need to get, so thank you so much for that.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next item is the Superintendent Performance Goal 1, Activity 3, Science Lab.
So one of the areas that when the board met at the beginning of the year that they asked me to work on are the labs that we have specifically in 5th and 8th grade, because those were areas that we really needed to beef up our lab areas and make sure that we have 40% of hands-on type of work rather than just everything being through the textbook. And so we have, Mr. Flores has been working with the principals, and those are a few of the things, but the list was like 6 pages of different things that we're buying and supplies. But the principals were able to meet with their staff, and the staff looked at the TEKS and said, this is what we have, we don't need this, but this is what we need to add to make our science even more hands-on. Dominguez also had a science night. They usually have it every year, but they had that again where students Mr. Guerrero was there from the high school, and students were getting hands-on experience again with science. So that's something that we really have been pushing a little bit more at those grade levels to have that hands-on science.
Any questions of Ms. Flores?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. The next item is Superintendent Performance Goal 2, Activity 3, Collaborative Meetings with Local Law Enforcement.
And I will be going over the specifics a little bit more because of safety. When we go back, it's on the executive agenda to discuss safety audits and safety resources. But we are going to we're having some collaborative meetings. We had a safety meeting, I believe it was last week, and we had the City of LaFayette Police there. We had the Sheriff's Departments there as well, and our committee members. But we are going to be meeting on the 18th to have a pre-assessment. The Sheriff's Department volunteered with us to have this drill, and so we took them up on it. And so they're gonna be coming on the 18th, and we're going to have a drill. Then we're going to be going to a specific campus to do a threat assessment on the 4th. Our first assessment will be without students, when we do this particular drill with the police coming in at that time. And then we will do a post-assessment of that meeting. And so this is just a drill that we're going to be having. And we talked about not only having meetings, but also having specific drills. And so we will be doing this with our Sheriff's Department.
Any questions? Thank you, ma'am. The next item is Superintendent Performance Goal 2, Activity 5, Capital Improvement Plan for Facilities.
So when we talk about facilities, safety is at the very top of everything that we're going to be doing. So with the SAFE grant, we did get a little bit over $2 million to address the needs. And again, we'll be discussing those specifics. We are working with TEA on Minoga, but we're looking at the entrances to our campuses, all of the checklist. Anybody can get on the TA website and find out the requirements. And so those are the things that we're going to be upgrading. Those are the things that we're going to be changing and addressing across the district. And so we believe that a little over $2 million will take care of everything that we need to in that area. The second slide that you look at, besides the safety issues, we also have other facility needs. The long-range planning team, and tonight you're gonna talk about that in the standing committees. But I met with Mr. Cavazos, and he's given me a few plans on financing some of these needs that we have. So we will be meeting probably January or February with that team and starting that process. So if that's something you decide to do tonight, that's what we're going to be addressing. But the roofing at DAP, that's something we will be taking care of very soon. We cannot wait on that. We need to replace that roof. But roofing across the district, it's just, we patched up. I know Mr. Guetta and his team work a lot on the roofing, but a lot of our campuses just need new roofs. So that's something that is a big endeavor. We looked at bleachers and the safety of bleachers at Green and Dominguez, and it's time to replace those. We did go up to the high school today, and also Mr. Cavazos was there and Ms. Ramos, and we looked at some of the bleachers there, and so that's something that we're probably in the future going to need to be addressing as well for safety. Classroom space at the high school, that's something we're going to need to look at. As we have become an early college high school, we have adjunct professors coming in, and they use classrooms, and we're expanding offerings, and so we're gonna be discussing a few of those things. The parking lot at WB Green, I know that's a need that we have. Plumbing concerns, we have a lot of clay piping in our campuses, and constantly having to do a lot of work orders with that, and some of our piping needs to be updated. We need to update our security alarm systems. It's getting to the point that they're going to, in the future, not be able to get parts and things like that, so we need to update those. We also talk about renovations for the police department. Really, the building next door is ready to go. We have minor renovations that we have to do, but it's pretty much ready to go. And then phase 2 of HVAC. With the ESSER, we were able to do $1.6 million of HVAC, and that was phase 1. We're hoping with controls and again, units to be able to do phase 2. So that's probably, if you looked at high priority and our top needs, those are top needs. Any questions about facilities or safety with facilities?
No, very good.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
The next item is Superintendent Performance Goal 3, Activity 2, Parental Involvement.
So I also provided, besides the ones that are up here, I made a few adjustments, and I provided some handouts for you. What you have here is October, November, but I have given you, we presented August and September already, but some of the main things that we have been focusing on this school year is safety. Safety when it comes, we provided safety training on September 6th, that we talked about child abuse at that time, and we talked about safety as far as the different drills and things that we do. We had 43 parents there. We had a vaping session. Actually, we had 3. We had one at Green, we had one at the high school, and we had one at the elementary school. And across the district, we had 18 parents that showed up across the district about the needs for vaping. We also talked, if you looked in October, literacy and the ability to read and the disconnect from what happened during COVID and how our students are behind. And so if you look at the literacy meetings we had one in September and October that we had about 33 students attend from Sam Houston, and that was only 3rd and 4th grade. And then if you look at October through November, we had specific science that we had 51 at Dominguez. We had 100 students at CEVAL, pre-K through 4th grade. They have a population in their school of about 382 parents. We had 100, so probably, if you look at that, probably I would say 23%, 22%, that's how many we had. Sam Houston, again, a 1st and 2nd grade literacy night, we had 58. And then the next page, something we started out last year as a new initiative is our toddlers. We're talking pre-K, we're talking students that aren't in school yet, 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. We had 88. They had different centers that talked all about the letters and so forth. And then Sanchez on the 7th had a literacy night for pre-KK and 1st grade, where they had different centers that they did literacy, and we had 162. So it's always a challenge, and I talked to Mrs. Casas about this a lot, to get parents. We do all kinds of things to try to get them to come in. And we'll continue to work on that. But those are some of the things that we have done. The other sheet was specifically for special ed and GT. So we had a session on GT, invited every GT parent in the district and got 4. And then we had an autism one, and this one was specifically an invitation only, is that correct? Yes.
For this particular training, because we were specifically talking about topics, and we had 14. I didn't include a migrant one we just had, and we had 19 parents. Mr. Cortez said, I went to that one last Saturday, I believe, and so we had a good turnout there. So again, continuing to focus on what we can do. Some things are done at the district level, some things at the campus level, but there are just some numbers. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Torres, I have a question. All these activities that were held at the Lee facility, does that cover from 1st grade to high school?
Depending upon what it is, if,
Say, for
like, give me
example,
an
balanced
example.
living,
Yes, that's, every parent is invited.
every parent.
And that particular one is during the day. Some are during the day and some are at night. So and that particular one is during the day, in the
Okay,
morning.
so these are 18 parents that attended.
Yes, ma'am.
That one was during the day?
Yes, some are at day, some are at night. Mrs. Laredo does a mixture of day and night.
No, I know the ones that have been at night have been awesome. I couldn't find a parking spot the other day.
Well, you know, my concern with this is, like, say, for example, the Med Science Night, and you had 51 parents attend to learn about science.
At Dominguez, yes.
At Dominguez. In the pumpkin on campus, we had 34 parents that attended. And although these are really, you know, good topics, especially the science one, was that bilingual, or was it in English, or how was
The
that handled?
teachers the math science is, every campus and every table has a different science experiment.
And
And
they
so
talk
the
to the
students and
parents.
the parents go from
Oh,
table
the
to
students
table.
also go.
Students and parents, yes.
Oh, I see, okay.
Yes.
To me, they're following the same
It's the
practice,
same
Mrs.
thing.
Casas, the same practice when we did math science back then. Students, along with it, conducted the experiments, and the parents would go and, of course, you know, do the experiments with the students.
So what we're trying to do with that and our literacy nights is our literacy nights, the parents sit down with the student as they're doing, for example, one of them was for a 3-year-old, they had to get the letter A, B, all the different letters, and put clay and make the letter A. So we're trying to show the parents at the same time how to do some of these activities at home. And the great thing about that is at all the campuses, they take it with them.
So when they finish, they get a little Ziploc bag and they take it with them to continue at home. So whether or not it's learning letters, blending, whatever it is, because it's different for every grade level, they're taking it home with them because we have to extend that.
Right.
So that's what the literacy nights specifically focus on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Flores. There are 3 items on the consent agenda: the monthly tax report, the remote homebound instruction waiver, and approval for moving the regular board meeting from the 8th of January to the 15th of January. Do I have a motion to approve the items listed on the consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Johnson. Do I have a second? And a second by Mrs. Montalvo. It has been moved and seconded to approve the items listed on the consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. The next item, items to consider and possible action. The first item, discussion and consideration to approve the Board of Trustees standing committees. There are four standing committees on the sheet provided to you. On the left, you will note the members that served on each committee this past year. I will take each committee one by one, and we will select members for the next year. The first one is the Education Instruction Committee.
So the last time, the ones that served was Mrs. Martinez, Ms. Casas, and Mr. Zambrano.
Do you still want to serve on the?
Somebody else wants to serve, or Ms. Casas?
Ms. Martinez, Ms. Casas? I can be an alternate. The next item is Audit and Finance Committee.
I know Mr. Briones is not here, but he did ask if he could serve on
I
that.
would like Mr. Briones to be on that committee.
And I'd like to stay on that committee, I've learned a lot.
And me too. That's okay.
Go ahead.
That's okay. So it's the same committee members. The next committee is District Long Range Planning Committee.
I would like to stay on that one.
Okay, Ms. Johnson.
Same.
Ms. Martinez will stay. Mrs. Montalvo will stay. And the last one is the Safety Committee. We have Ms. Montalvo, Ms. Johnson, and Mr. Zambrano.
I'll stay.
I'll stay.
Stay. We will all stay. Very few changes, correct? Very good.
So we need a motion.
Yes. May I have a motion, please?
Yes. I move that we approve the Board of Trustees standing committees.
Do I have a second? Okay. A second by Mrs. Montalvo. It's been moved and seconded to approve the Board of Trustees standing committees. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next item, discussion and consideration to approve an update to early childhood and college career and military readiness district goal plans.
Good evening, Board President, Mrs. Castillo, members of the board, and Superintendent Mrs. Flores. Tonight we bring to you the goals for early childhood and college career and military readiness. It is basically, we now review this with you, so this is what we have. But before I do begin, we did receive an email from TA this past Friday that taper will be released this coming Friday. So you'll see some data with asterisks. It's because that's what we think our data will be, but the taper report will give us the exact number. So if it does change, we will bring that to you as well. On the first slide, we have the percentage of our third grade students. These are students that scored at meets or higher on the STAR test this past 2023. Our goal is to be at 60%. Right now, we are at 53% with our third graders. On our next slide, we have our subgroups for our third grade. I do want to address the one of the second subgroup, which is white. We did see a decrease there, but we did see a decrease there too because we have less numbers there. So the less numbers we have, the smaller the passing percentage will be. So again, this is for our third grade students that are at meets or better. By subpop, Hispanic 54, white 25, economically disadvantaged 52, English language learners are at 47, and our special ed students are at 20%.
In some of these, we're talking about single digits, so in our Y population, we may have 4 students, you know, instead of, you know, some of the others, so that's why when you have 20 compared to 4, that it drops.
And in this particular population, Mrs. Flores, it was 8.
Okay,
Yeah, 8. Continuing with reading or literacy, we now have, on the next slide, data that will show how our students did at the end of the year, last year. So we test our kinder, first and second grade. Our kinder students were tested with the end of the year SABAS. 96% met the goal. Our goal was 90. First grade, we were at 55 at the end of the year. The goal is 54. Our second grade students, 69% of them scored, or passed, excuse me, at the end of the year SABAS assessment. The goal that was set for them was 64.
and we do meet every 6 weeks, so I go with the principals every 6 weeks, sometimes the admin go with me, and so we talk about which things are good, which things are going well, which things do we need to improve on, and how do we need to do that. So this is not something we just do once a year, the principals and admin get together on a 6 weeks basis just to see where we are.
So technically you surpassed the goal already.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's promising for the second, these are last year's scores, right?
These are
The second
yes.
graders going on to third for the star.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So basically, 69 is saying that 7 students out of every 10 students is reading at its level.
Well, it depends, well, yes, that's 69% of our second graders are at, yes. Yes, ma'am.
That's really good.
On the next slide, we are now going to address math. Again, the percentage of third grade students that score meets grade level or above on the STAR will increase from 43 to 60. Again, that was the goal that was set for them. So for the school year of 2023, which was this past year, our students are at 44%. So that is an area, we do know the math was the one that was hit the hardest, but we did make progress from the previous years as well. On the next slide, you will now see again the subgroups for math. Again, 45% of Hispanic met or was at meets or better, 38% white, 42% economically disadvantaged, 36 are English language learners, and special ed was at 28%.
And again, this supports the area that we talked about at the beginning of the school year, that math is our concern.
On the next slide, we have our kinder, first and second graders, how they did on their math end of the year test. Our kinders, they take the pluralized test, 91% of them passed. In first grade, we also take pluralized, 84%, the goal was 86. And for our second grade students, they take the end of the year Shanwell's assessment, and 68% of those students pass.
And according to House Bill 3, the goal is for 2024, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is there such a difference? Like, I guess I think of 84 as almost 9 kids out of 10 are doing well in math, but in the previous slide.
They were doing better than 91?
The
Oh.
previous slide that you showed us, the math scores were so low.
Because that's meets, and then this one is
It's the subgroup.
progress.
The progress.
Like if you're showing growth. So you may not be at the meets yet, but you showed what the state said, correct me if I'm
That
wrong.
is
So,
correct.
in other words, I come into second grade and I'm at the kinder level because I'm a little bit behind. But if I show a year or more of progress, then on that slide that you just saw, I get progress measure. But I'm still not at the meets level. So at the meets level, you have to be on grade level. I'm in second grade, I came in at the at kindergarten level because I was behind. I made a year or more of growth. I'm still not at the second grade level, but I've made a year or more of growth, and you get the progress measure. Because what the state is looking at is, it may take you a couple of years to catch up, but you're gonna get there if you continue to make that progress. So if you look at this one, this is how many students made that year or more progress, where the other one is not.
Not necessarily at a level,
Yes,
but
no,
progress.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Okay, now we're gonna go into our CCMR plan from this past school year. Just a reminder on the next slide, the data that we present to you, first of all, again, like I just mentioned, TAPER reports will be released this Friday, so hopefully we'll have more up-to-date data. This data is Dr. Cantu and myself coming up with the numbers. And again, this is always delayed 1 year. It lags 1 year for the CCMR. So CCMR has 10 components. Tonight we just share with you 3. On the next slide, we have the first one, which is the TSIA, which is the assessments that our students take in reading and math. So if we look at our score, and what we did different is we put down below, so if we go to the 2023 column, down at the very bottom under the 48% with the asterisk, that tells you which class that is. I know sometimes we tend to try to explain, and maybe I don't do a good job of that, so we ended up putting which class that represents the score for. So that's for the class of 2022, and they scored 48%. And again, the little asterisk is there because that is what we think, we believe our score will be, but hopefully this Friday we will have an accurate number. So again, this represents the number of students that pass both reading and math TSIA assessments.
And it's just that one test.
And that means they're ready for college.
Yes, ma'am.
So half of our students are ready for college.
Yes,
Yes.
according to this. With the TSI.
Yeah, well, but don't they need the TSI to get into
They
college?
can also take a college course, they can also take a high school course, and if they pass that, then UTRGV takes that as being ready for college, just as the same as TSI.
So then they don't have to take the TSI, basically.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And so down at the bottom, the subgroups hopefully are take the results from this Friday, we would be able to fill that in. The next measure that we have is the IBC, the industry-based certifications. Again, the goal was to go from a 28 to a 40.6 by August of 2024. If you look down at the class of 22 for 2023, we are at a 75%. The previous ones, those were, if you remember, this is why we had to do some checks and balances. We had to establish some systems so that we didn't see the results that we had in 2021 and 2022. So those systems have paid off. So we're at a 75%. Again, I'll say that with the asterisk.
That's the class of 2022.
That is the class of 2022, yes, ma'am.
That's a big improvement.
So that is for our IBC. Our last measure, this is our students that are taking dual credit courses. The next slide. We did see a slight decrease here, but it's at 21% compared to the previous year of 22.6. So the class of 2022, we had 21% of the students receive dual course credits.
Some of them are taking AP, so if they take AP, and what I will do with this is I will wanna know how many were taking AP and getting credit with that, how many got credit with dual, cause this particular one is only dual. It's not the ones getting credit through AP. So we will want to look at both to see if this went down, 0.6, did our AP go up 0.6? So that our, we still have those particular credit measures. Not every student gets credit, and as we go through the early college high school, you're gonna see more getting credit than 21% because we're in early college. But back in 2022, we weren't in early college, and so it was the dual that we offered. So that's what we need to look at. We're good with AP and we're good with dual, but we wanna make sure that they're both going up and not, not going down.
And for the 2022 graduating class, we feel that our overall raw score component should be an 89 as compared to the 53 from the previous year. So for the class of 22, we're expecting an 89%. And again, like I mentioned, if paper is different from what I presented, I will bring this to Mrs. Torres. Any questions?
And we present the taper, I think, February, so we'll give you those, for the final scores in February. I think it's February.
A couple of years ago, we had, the score, I remember, that's when I first got familiar with the CMR. We had a score of 55, and that's what they focused on. Okay, we had a score of 55. Where is that score now?
Well, because these are just components. We have 10 components. The overall score, we're expecting for the class of 2022 is an 89%.
Ah, that's what you said.
That's the one,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Because House Bill 3 doesn't include the overall, but he just mentioned it so y'all would know that, because that will come out on the, with other things that we give. This particular one, House Bill
just
3, just asked for these 3 only.
3 out of 10, yes, ma'am.
They just want us to present on the dual the IBC, and the TSI.
TSI.
So the paperwork for the next presentation would include on the other components?
Yes, ma'am,
So
hopefully.
that would include the special ed and
The
AP?
sub-ops.
All of that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Yes, Madam President. I move we approve the update to early childhood and college career and military readiness district goal plans.
Do I have a second? A second by Mrs. Martinez. It's been moved and seconded to approve an update to early childhood and college career and military readiness district goal plans. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
The next item is a discussion and consideration to approve on a resolution regarding options in connection with House Bill 763.
Good evening, Board President, Board members, Superintendent Ms. Torres. Tonight, we'd like to discuss a resolution regarding the options in connection with House Bill 763, which is also DP local. House Bill 763 authorizes the districts to employ chaplains or accept chaplains as volunteers to provide support, services, or programs for students as assigned by the board. Chaplains could be employed or volunteer to work alongside the counselors. The bill allows public schools to employ unlicensed chaplains or have them as volunteers to address behavioral or social emotional needs that should be managed. Senate Bill 763 requires each board member to take a record vote on whether to adopt a policy authorizing a campus to employ or accept a volunteer chaplain. Before you, you have the resolution, and you all would pick what option, whether you want to employ or accept as a voluntary chaplain, or not accept.
So, at this time, administration's recommendation, and of course, every board member has a vote, but we are recommending at this time not to adopt chaplains to assist our counselors. This is, House Bill 762 was just adopted, getting all different various type of people, putting that responsibility on the counselor to have to work and not knowing where all these people, not having a system in place of training. So it very specifically says in option 1, does not permit a district campus to employ or accept a volunteer at this time. It doesn't mean later on that when we feel like there's systems in place that we might come back to say we will accept it under these conditions, but at this time, we are recommending, and we have until March to adopt this resolution and either to decide to or not to do. And so at this time, our recommendation is not to, again, at this time, but every board member will make that decision.
Mr. Host, do you know where this originated, why they're, giving the schools this option?
With all the crises that have been occurring, I guess they felt that they needed more support for mental.
Some school districts felt they needed more support.
And they don't.
We don't feel we need more support.
I do.
At this time, we do, ma'am, but I
Not from
think
them.
with our counselors,
Not from volunteer people.
No.
So basically, we're saying we don't need more support. We are okay with what we have in our campus.
We are getting more support, for example, in social workers, we're getting some.
Yeah, no, that's what
But
I'm
as far
saying.
as chaplains
See.
and not knowing where you're coming from, your background, you're gonna be sitting with the student, not knowing what, you're going to be sharing, not knowing what, the laws are with the
So any chaplain could just, you could.
I thought we had
Or
to
they could say they're a
interview or
chaplain
hire.
and then,
I mean, yeah,
Right.
anybody that says they're a chaplain, then you would hire them with no background check or anything like that.
Oh, everybody, it's not just
If we were to
hiring,
vote to allow that,
everybody would need a background check, you
Yeah.
would have to do a background check.
oh, so whoever applies
Would
would
have to
go
have a
through
background check. Yes, absolutely.
But we feel that we have enough support in our district that we don't need to reach out to anybody else.
I feel that the chaplain and this
See.
particular one is not the support that we
See,
need at this
no,
time.
that's fine, that's fine.
so I'll go first. I say we do not permit the district campus to employ or accept the volunteer of a chaplain.
Actually, I was gonna call out your name, but
Yeah.
that's okay, Mr. Briones.
Mr. Rios, Mr. Zambrano.
I already changed your name, sir.
Who's
So
first?
you're voting for option
The
one?
first one.
Option one, okay. Mrs. Johnson?
Option 2.
Option two. Okay, Mrs. Martinez?
Option 1.
Option one, Ms. Reyes not here. Mrs. Casas?
Option 2.
Option two, Ms. Montalvo?
Option 2.
Option two, okay. And I will go with option one. Okay, so with the vote, option one receives three and option two receives 3. I'll redo that now, yeah.
We can, you can always break that tie, or we can wait till Mr. Leonis comes back. It's not, the vote is not due until March, and so we can, bring this back at the next board meeting.
I would like for Mr. Briones to
That way he
have a
has
say.
the vote as well.
Yes, to have a say. So we will, I don't wanna say table, we'll just wait until Mr. Briones.
Take no action.
Thank you. We'll take no action. Thank you so much. Okay, we will now continue. The next item is discussion and consideration and possible action to modify FFAC local in accordance with Senate Bill 629.
Yes, so this is FFAC local policy, which is related to wellness and health services, medical treatment. Due to all the legislation that passed, it's recommended revisions to this policy are based on Senate Bill 629, which requires each district to adopt a policy regarding the maintenance, administration, and disposal of opioid antagonists at each campus that serves students in grades 6 through 12. So it is required that we have some procedures in place, a policy in place for grades 6 to 12 for opioid antagonists. Also with this, it would involve that we would have trained personnel to administer the antagonist to a person who is reasonably believed to be experiencing a opioid-related drug overdose. And it requires that each school campus have members trained to administer the antagonist during the school hours. And we would also have to establish the number of opioid antagonists that must be available for each campus from grades 6 through 12, and also require the supply of opioid antagonists at each campus to be stored in a secure location. So we will work closely with TASB and administration to develop practices and procedures to have the opioid antagonists for grades 6 through 12.
If approved.
If approved. It's Narcan. It's when a student is having.
Narcan.
Narcan.
For the,
Yes.
oh, okay.
A lot of us attended that session, we went to that conference, and basically you only have very short time if something happens.
Yes,
And so,
yes.
if you're waiting for medical personnel to get there.
Oh, no, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we would have this in place to counter effect that.
Now, would we need the parents' consent in order to
Yeah.
give that?
We have to come up with all procedures, policies, and regulations, so we will bring that back to the board for information. It's not approved, but we will let you know exactly, how that is going to work. As we work with TASB and legal, and they already have some things drawn up, and basically, they have different things that we look at, and then we get trained, and everybody gets trained that we determine should be administering this.
So do we have that, how do you say it?
Narcan.
Narcan, available now or no?
No, because the board has not approved it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I move to modify FFAC local in accordance with Senate Bill 629 and adopt a policy regarding the maintenance, administration, and disposal of opioid antagonists at each campus that serves students in grades 6 through 12.
Do I have a second? And seconded by Mrs. Casas. It has been moved and seconded to approve, to modify FFAC local in accordance with Senate Bill 629 and adopt a policy regarding the maintenance, administration, and disposal of opioid antagonists at each campus that serves students in grades 6 through 12. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And the last item is discussion and consideration to approve a gift to the district for a specific purpose as per CDC local.
CDC local requires any gift over 5,000 and any gift for a specific purpose to be brought to the board. We received a call from the Valley Baptist Legacy Foundation, and they want to award us a gift of $10,000 designated to La Feria ISD. And Mr. Cavazos is very humbled, and he didn't want to mention this, but we will. He served on the board of Valley Baptist Legacy for 9 years, I believe, and he is exiting that board. And so in his honor, Mr. Cavazos has chosen our district to receive this. And so they would like to give us that $10,000 specifically for mental health. And that was his request.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of Ms. Torres or Mr. Cavazos?
Thank you so much.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I move to approve a gift from Valley Baptist Legacy Foundation in the amount of $10,000 that would be used by the district to address mental health.
Do I have a second? A second by Mrs. Martinez. It has been moved and seconded to approve a gift from Valley Baptist Legacy Foundation in the amount of $10,000 that would be used by the district to address mental health. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. It is now 7:06 p.m. and we are moving into closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551. We are ready, sir. Thank you. It is now 7:34 p.m. and we are now reconvening to open session. Let the record show that the superintendent approves the retirement of Mrs. Gloria Hernandez. Any district announcements?
Yes, ma'am. Tomorrow night, we have the high school band winter concert at 5:30 at the La Feria Early College High School. Then on the 14th, we have the district annual luncheon from 11 to 1:30 at the Lee facility. Later on that day at 6 p.m., we have the choir Christmas concert at the First United Methodist Church here in La Feria. On the 15th, which is Friday, we have holidays. It's an ACE program Christmas event at the La Feria Early College High School at 6:30. On December 19th, we have our Stuffed Wellness Winter Wonderland. And on the 22nd of January, we have TASB team building training at the La Feria Boys.
Thank you. Any questions of Mrs. Donna? If there is no other business, do I have a motion to adjourn? A motion by Mr. Campbell. I have a second by Mrs. Martinez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It is now 7:35 p.m. and the meeting is now adjourned.
Thank you.
Since we changed the meeting to